Welcome back to Local SEO Tactics, where we bring you tips and tricks to get found online. I'm your host, Jesse Dolan, coming at you here at the end of the year. This is a wrap on 2023. This is our top 5 episodes of the year. This is always fun. We get to look back on the most popular episodes of the year, do some projection in the analytics. What's a more recent episode, right? That's kind of popular and kind of project and really kind of pick and curate the top 5 episodes of the year. I think you're going to like this. There's some interesting stuff. We're going to talk about reviews, GBPs, some good interview snippets. And I think it's going to be a good recap of the year and setting the stage as we look forward into 2024. Special thanks to all of you out there in the audience listening, subscribing, sharing, leaving reviews, giving us that feedback that we asked for to let us know that the show is working and that you appreciate it. For all the questions and the commentary that comes in to give us ideas for episodes or questions to answer for episodes, questions for people that we interview, just everything. We really appreciate your feedback, your support, and we're looking forward to another year in 2024 of providing this show and this platform for all of us really to learn and continue to grow. So thanks. We really do appreciate it. This is going to be a fun episode. Mainly because Bob and Sue are not here, and I get to do a couple things without asking any permission from them, right? So first thing we're going to do here is we're going to enjoy a little drink. It is 3:15 Central Time, not too early at all on a Thursday between Christmas and New Year's, if you catch my drift. Just kidding. Not kidding. Here we go. This is Old Forester. Anybody who's been listening for a while knows I'm definitely a fan of bourbon here. And I'm going to be drinking an Old Forester 1910 Old Fine Whiskey. This is effectively a double-barreled whiskey off their Whiskey Row series. Anything Old Forester puts out is fantastic. This is one of my favorites, 93 proof. Go. All right. So you don't have to follow along, but if you are so inclined, pour yourself a glass or a cup of whatever your favorite beverage is, hot or cold, and let's get into it. So cheers. Fantastic, even at 3:15. All right, so that's one thing I get to do to have a little fun today without Bob and Sue. The second is I'm going to leak out a little bit of information here ahead of time. So anybody who's been paying attention to the show, listening for a while, knows that a couple years ago we teased some courses we were going to launch. That hasn't fully come to fruition, mainly because of the production we're trying to do and everything else. But also it just never really met what we were trying to produce for our audience and kind of the target we were trying to hit. There's a ton of courses out there and we just don't want to do the same thing. So we're kind of taking a little pivot here, and this is going to be launched as our Boost SEO program. And it's kind of a hybrid. There's going to be some course material, some videos, and some checklists, and a lot of things that you're going to need to engage and roll out SEO on your business. But also you're going to have the support of our SEO team behind you. We're here to do a lot of the heavy lifting, and whether it be some audits, using some of our power tools, quote unquote, that we have subscriptions and resources to that you probably wouldn't be able to afford otherwise, and just the coaching, consultation, and mentorship that comes with being an SEO professional, right? So if you're interested in learning more about that, go to localseotactics.com/boost. Right now, there's nothing to sign up for from a money standpoint, right? We just want to see if there's interest out there, if anybody's looking for some support in this kind of a scenario. This will be launched in January 2024. You'll find more information here in the future. But for now, for this episode, we just have a quick landing page, localseotactics.com/boost. Let us know if you're interested. We'll put you on the list and we'll reach out. Anybody who does sign up through this list, we got some little freebies we're going to be given as part of this, some little special bonuses for the early adopters and the people who want to jump on board. So if this is up your alley, we'd love to help you out and finally launch this and get on the journey with you. localseotactics.com/boost. All right. So one final shout out here to all the collaborators, people that came on for interviews and behind the scenes. For this kind of a year-end wrap, right? Let's give a couple acknowledgments. We had a lot of great interviews this year on the show. We had Elizabeth Samuels, John Metatoli, Brian and Nikki Hine, Billy Stopler, Stolper. Sorry, Billy. God, I always want to say Stopler. Billy Stolper, Pete Kleinjohn, Michael Rayburn, Nicole, Cherie Hess, Kyle Roof, Victor Perez, and of course, members of our Intrix team, Bob, Sue Taylor, and TJ, all on here for appearances on various topics. And the show really wouldn't be what it is without the support from that broadcast. So if you've got questions, if you want to be a guest for an interview, or if you have a suggestion of somebody to interview, anything like that, always reach out to us, localseotactics.com. Go down to the bottom of the screen, click on the button for submitting a question, and we'd love to hear your feedback right there. So without further ado, let's jump into the first episode here, number 5 on our list. These are really in no particular order, just the top 5, generally speaking. This was episode 190. And here we're talking about using ChatGPT to create content, craft a page. This was back in April when this episode dropped, when ChatGPT was very hyped, a lot of buzz around it, and rightly so. And this is kind of our early impressions on breaking down, can it be useful, how would you use it, and maybe things to avoid. Bottom line, yeah, you can use ChatGPT and AI for your website and SEO, but you shouldn't trust it 100%. Check this out. Here's a great snippet from episode 190. And a lot of people are out there using it right now. I'm sure anybody listening or watching could do a Google search and just find some AI automation SEO type recipes, tools, connectors, things like that. And in that sense, it'd be kind of a push button solution where you identify a page, what keyword on the page, right? Now create the content for me. Tell me where to put that content on the page. You could really have AI make all these decisions for you. In our mind, in our use so far, in our recipe, that's not effective. Not saying it can't be. We've talked, Sue, in other episodes about, depending on your market, like your geographic market, I should say, depending on the product or service keywords you're going after, your brand, that's going to kind of dictate some of what you need to do for your own SEO campaign and your own SEO efforts. And because of that, right now, we don't think there's any AI that's just straight away advanced enough to just push button automate everything. It can do a lot of work for creators, for SEOs, but you still need, at this point in time, at least here, April 2023 timestamp, you still need a talented and competent human being to be able to edit this content, to assess what we're going to do with this, where to put it. It's definitely making our job easier from a content creation standpoint. But I would say no, SEO is not effective just going straight away SEI broadly. Just kind of set that answer aside. Now we have good talented people, good grammar, good English, right? And they're creative, that can do good writing. But we found early that using AI like Jasper, and now in present terms, ChatGPT, to help create and write some of that content was a no-brainer for us. We definitely don't just publish things that AI creates. We have kind of turned our own personal talent and labor in the creative writing space to be more of editors than creators, right? Whether before maybe we would job out a piece of creative writing, maybe something on Fiverr, maybe something on whatever, some kind of gig board, get a blog post created, get an article created, whatever. We would edit that and massage that and make sure that works for the client project that we're working on. Well, now we can use AI to help create that same thing. And in a lot of times, it's just as good, if not better, than some of the mid to lower end gig jobs that we were paying people for. That being said, we are not confident in just putting that stuff up on pages as is. We always want to edit it. We always want to make sure it's unique. We want to make sure it's accurate. When we work with clients, we're always very specific, right, about what's the intent of this page, what keywords are we going after. So we definitely massage all of that. And so broadly there, I would say, yes, in that sense, the way we use it, we think AI is very useful for SEO, very advantageous for SEO, and can benefit your SEO. That being said, I do want to go through the weeds on a couple points here for what we think is maybe good ways and bad ways to use it, and some general best practices. Now, that being said, again, this is April 2023. We are on the bleeding edge of this AI revolution of using ChatGPT and everything else, right? So, all right, I hope you enjoyed that one. Here, next, number 2 on our top 5 is episode number 207. This was a great interview you did with Victor Perez. Victor is super intelligent, had a lot of great SEO nuggets to share. And in this particular snippet here, we're talking about reviews on your GBP and other strong signals related to your GBP and how important that is for SEO. Check it out. Oh, yeah. I love talking reviews just because, I mean, it's those user generated signals, right? It's like real stuff. It's not us search marketers coming up with a clever keyword phrase or a backlink trick, right? This is another human being vouching for the business and giving real signals, real proof that it's legitimate and trusted. And yeah, Google would be silly not to put a lot of weight on those types
Yes,
of
so
factors.
I think the other, yeah, I think the only other advice I'd put on top of that is, yeah, invest into it, incentivize like your internal staff to be getting the
Yeah,
reviews, make a game out of it, make the bonus structure based upon reviews. Investing into it and paying more so for the better reviews, like if somebody puts a video in there and full text, paying somebody way more for that
right.
than not. And when I say pay, I do mean internal staff, not the end client.
Right. That's definitely get into some Google guideline issues there, right? If you're paying for reviews or incentivizing those reviews. But yeah, we always recommend that same tactic. Get your team on board because you know what? It's not easy to confront somebody and ask for a review either. Like there needs to be coaching and training there. That's not a space that most of us are usually comfortable in. And it takes some prodding and, like you said, some gamifying, some goals, some rewards to do it. But as an owner or marketing manager, whatever your position is, to influence getting those reviews, man, time and money well spent because those real world signals are just hard to replicate for the traction and the juice that you get. So,
And you can move them with you. I know a guy
right.
that was doing, he has a towing business. He came from Kansas all the way down here to South Florida. He moved his Jeep, he just updated the address, he brought it all the way
Awesome.
over, and immediately was just ranking here and just getting business here.
Awesome. Which, makes a ton of sense. He should. So it's still the same guy, still the same business. So that's an excellent tip. And just reinforcement always stay on those reviews all day, every day for you. Any other tidbits you want to drop, Victor, while we're at it?
The other side to it, I think, I guess the other side to people asking me, so yeah, so a lot of people, other marketers or even just end clients will ask, like, what do we do that's just GBP specific? I think the big thing when you get that question is to kind of come to them and see if maybe they have outdated info. And like I said before, marketers have outdated info sometimes, and the business owners themselves for sure will have outdated info because if they're just going to Google and searching stuff up, they're just going to find like all the generic people that rank their stuff up there that aren't exactly up to date. So as far as what you can do, I think you need to address the fact that it's not so divided anymore. Because before you could spin up all these little extra properties or additional citations to influence just the GBP. Nowadays, you have to look into what kind of traffic are you getting on the site because you kind of work your way backwards. Who's ranking the best in the maps, and now check out their domain. What kind of traffic do they get? Most of the times, the way it works is, let's say, if you are the top ranking with the widest radius for DUI queries, it's because you're ranking for people that search articles for what happens first time DUI, what happens on my second DUI, third, what happens if this happened with the breathalyzer. It's people that have traffic for all of those queries that are dominating. And there's people over here trying to spin up citations endlessly when they just got to look at the website and what they're bringing in traffic for, what they're authoritative for. Now, all of a sudden, what does that mean? It means you might have closed down a client on a contract for just maps rankings, where now you have to take responsibility of the website, the content, and the links that are getting pointed to it, which are way more expensive. And now you need to have a web team. You need to know how to work WordPress. You need to know minimal levels of HTML, CSS. You need to know how to work the web builders unless you're building it fresh. If you're building it fresh, you need devs, so on and so forth. And it gets really expensive very fast for all the big niches.
And you're leaning there towards something that I love talking about, particularly to clients, is we still need you, right? We're an SEO firm. We're going to do all this magic for you. Don't do that yourself. Like, you let the experts be the experts in this area, because there's a ton to learn and there's a ton to stay on top of. We'll do that. You be an expert in your business. And we're going to need your expertise because, to your point, Victor, like you're just saying, these different articles on like what happens when this, what to do if that, these are questions. I'm sorry, these are answers that your SEOs probably can't answer. And like, no offense to you, like a great creative writer, professional writer too. You still need to have the knowledge base or the expertise, right? And who better than the great 5-star thriving business that does this every day, right? So if they want to participate in the SEO and in the web stuff, all right, give us this information. We'll tell you what kind of articles or what kind of questions or what kind of things are needed outside of just, DUI lawyer near me, right? Because we had to build that knowledge base to make you the most prominent expert in your area for this topic. Um, Even if you just want to show up in the maps, like you're saying, right? That's doesn't really matter anymore that you can just manipulate a thing. Google's getting more sophisticated. And really, at the end of the day, we all have to remember their job is quality control. They want to make sure the best results are at the top. All these things just logically make sense to who is the best result, right? Who's giving the best answers, who's got the widest scope. All these things matter. So,
Oh, and even social media. Last thing I'll throw in there, social media is getting more weight. So if you haven't already checked, I do look at SERPs a lot for the really competitive areas. There's certain law firms that will pop up a little bit extra higher than they should because they're getting a lot of traction over different mediums like TikTok, Twitter, YouTube videos, and that has more weight nowadays. So it's like, oh wow, you need somebody to hold on to, or be responsible for that too. Like, yeah, there's a lot involved.
yeah, that's a great tip. All right. I hope you enjoyed that. That was a great talk with Victor. Looking forward to having him on again to talk about some other topics. And yeah, I think everybody learned a lot from that episode with Victor, and I hope you did as well. Let's have a little sip here of our bourbon. I don't know if it's time for you to have another little sip, but definitely time for me. All right. So next up here, number 3, we have episode 182. And this was a good episode here about not directly just for SEO benefits, but how to repurpose content, good website content, blog content, maybe a service or a product page that you crafted and designed, but having a content calendar, right? Producing regular content for your marketing, and then making sure you're repurposing that. There is nothing wrong with taking the same content or story or blog article that goes on your website, repurposing it for your Google My Business, repurposing it for social media, and just kind of spinning it in different ways, right? Whether it's the artwork and the graphics you're using, the actual text, story headlines. Man, once you create a good piece of content, you want to leverage that across all your platforms. These definitely make a difference for the actual platforms themselves, right? For their own algorithms and search, but also the more you get yourself out there, the more you're going to be searched as a brand. And that's a great, great thing for your SEO. If you can start getting brand searches for your business and for your company, not just the keyword, right? And niche type searches. If you can get those brand searches, it's huge. This is a great way to repurpose content and hopefully spur some of those brand searches. Check it out. One of the secret kind of hidden spots for this is kind of through social media. So a lot of times companies won't invest into social media because you feel like you have to create content specifically for it. But if you're acting in an efficient way, like we're talking about here, you can just trickle out some of this content to social media without a lot of extra effort. And if you find that you're not getting a lot of likes or shares or engagements in your content through, let's just say Facebook, right, through their analytics, don't be dismayed. How often have you, as a user of Facebook, scrolled through content? Maybe it's one of your favorite brands or an influencer or something that you're following that you like and are passionate about and support. Maybe have even patronized before, but that doesn't mean you're going to like everything, right? That person or that brand puts out. It doesn't mean you're going to share that stuff. So when we as marketers get too caught up in those analytics, we don't understand that some of this might just be commercials, right? Like on the radio or TV. And we view social media like that in a lot of ways. It's getting your message out there. And if getting your message out there is cheap and efficient for you, and you're repurposing a lot of your other content, people are going to see that in their feeds, although you may not be able to see the stats to back it up. Things are happening in a perfect world. If things are happening in a good way for you. What's going to happen is people are going to see that content, even though they're not engaging with it, and you can't kind of get the analytics that they're seeing it. They're going to see that content, and what they're going to do is they're going to go out to Google and they're going to do some searches. Best case scenario for you is they do some kind of a brand search with a product or service that you're trying to get recognition for or ranking for, right? So if it was Jesse Dolan and red balloons, right? If on my social media feeds, people are seeing stuff about red balloons and they're associating with me because it's my feed, they start doing Google searches for Jesse Dolan red balloons. Google is going to start to associate Jesse Dolan as an entity with red balloons as an entity. And that's great. So if nothing else, right, my point here is leverage that content, put it on multiple platforms, be sophisticated in what you're doing, pay attention to your calendar, and keep putting out that content. The more you do that, you're going to pump this flywheel. Not all of it is measured, but measure the heck out of everything you can measure. But even the things that fall between the cracks, it's still going to be great for you. If you're not spending energy and budget money and budget time to these silos individually, but instead, if you're doing it coordinated, this is a much more efficient way to go about it. And it's okay, right? If some of these stats don't show up for you, you don't have to be guided by them because it's really just another click or two, maybe a few more minutes to put that on social. So sorry to get a little bit long-winded on the social portion of that there. But for us, if you're running this model, it becomes efficient and scalable for you to leverage content in this way across multiple platforms. Whereas before you may have looked at them in their individual silos and then chosen what you do or don't put your time and money towards based off those priorities. Instead, if you think about putting the same content out to multiple platforms and being more coordinated, you're going to find you're able to produce more content. You're going to produce better content, and it's going to be working and much more efficient for you. And at the end of the day, the reason all this is important is because as we move forward, helpful content, insightful content, and the content that matches the intent of what people are searching for is going to rank highest in Google and is going to be the most sticky stuff, right? That people are going to stay on, and those brands are going to be the ones that are going to win. So you need to do more content. You need to do content in all the fractal areas that people are engaging with you. And if you need to be there, and if you need to be doing that, well, guess what? Some efficiency is going to help you out. So there you go. Hopefully that helps. Not a direct local SEO episode here today, but something that is important for your business. And over the course, right, of time and doing this the right way, it definitely will impact your SEO and your brand largely in all of these areas. Hey everyone, just a quick message about our free SEO audit tool on localseotactics.com, and we'll get right back to the show. If you haven't taken advantage of it yet, go on out to localseotactics.com/free SEO audit, or look for the yellow button up in the top right corner, click that. And it's going to take just a couple seconds. You enter in the page that you want to optimize, what you're looking for the audit to score against. Enter in that page, enter in the keyword you're looking to get optimized for, and enter in your email address, click the button, and it's going to take you a few seconds, and then it's going to send you off a PDF report via email. It's a great report. It's going to kind of give you an overall score of some vital SEO areas for that page and for your website at large, even though it's auditing this page. That's going to tell you some of the good things that are happening, some of the bad things that are happening too, and give you basically a checklist of some things that you need to shore up and what you can do to improve your SEO for that page, for that keyword that you're auditing. Now you can use this as many times as you want. You can do multiple keywords, multiple pages, multiple keywords on the same page. You can even use this to check against your competitors, right? If you want to do a little reverse engineering, see how they're scoring for a certain keyword, what they may be doing good that you're not, and some things to improve there. So lots of different ways to use it, completely free. Again, go on to localseotactics.com/free SEO audit, or look for the yellow button in the top right corner of the website. All right, up next on our top 5, episode 4. This is episode 187. And this is an episode Bob, Sue, and myself did. And we were talking about, is it good or is it okay to have clusters of reviews on your GBP profile, or do you want to kind of drip them out steadily? Here we kind of dive into that. There's really no right or wrong answer as long as you seem like a real business, right? Sometimes there's events where you might get a lot of reviews. I wouldn't say you just want to only do one or the other. But yeah, we dive into some do's and don'ts and some great tips about getting reviews and why they're so important for your profile and broadly for your SEO. And yeah, check it out here, episode 187. I think to start off though, first, is the best way to get reviews, right? First and foremost, we want to see reviews continually. And Bob, I know we've talked again extensively about getting reviews, asking people in person, automated software solution, things like that. And I want to tell everybody, the best case scenario for you is to just constantly get reviews for your Google business profile, right? I mean, anywhere you're getting reviews is great. I think we're talking 80% of our energy or more here is on the GBP. Continue to get reviews. It's good for Google. They see steady engagement from the users, not from you as a business owner, right, or the marketing person, but from the actual customers and prospects out there. If you're getting reviews on your business continually, whether it's a slow drip or if you get 10 a day, whatever it is, it's a great pattern. It shows continual engagement from human beings out there, great signals for Google. We know about getting reviews if you're getting photos or if people are talking about the services and the products in those reviews. That's great for your SEO as well. And there's another hidden layer there, I think, which is worth underlining for people, why it's important to keep getting reviews on a steady basis. Bob, we were chatting as a business owner and running businesses. It's hard to get your employees and your team members, right, motivated, trained in, and kind of in that process of asking for reviews in person. And we know of all the ways to get reviews. We're big proponents of software to automate it, but you're going to get the most reviews from asking human being to human being. And if you're not constantly doing that, if you're starting and stopping that or things like that, it's hard to get traction there, right? And get people re-engaged and get that thing off the ground. Do you want to comment at all, Bob? Closed circuit,
Yeah.
production wise, we
No,
can
and I think what I'd like to do is defer to you on some of the strategic. So I mean, one of the questions was that bundle piece. I mean, is that something that I mean, do you have any further thoughts on that as far as getting, we're talking like trade shows and stuff? Because what I'd like to cover is towards the end is somewhat of a cultural and psychological deal, and just actually bounce questions off you two to see if you are thinking along the same lines or differently on this topic, because it just seems to be, to me, it just seems to be an absolute chore to get the business owner to really drive this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if I can defer to you on some of that strategic piece, or not strategic, but technical, on the review volumes and things like that. I mean, what are there do's and don'ts there, or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, 100%. Makes sense to me. The bot, the algorithm, the machine, the AI that is Google, it's going to look for things that are unnatural, right? So if you've never gotten any reviews and suddenly you get 300 in 3 days and then you don't get any more reviews,
Yeah.
you're going to be asking for some scrutiny, right? You're going to be asking to get audited, just in any scenario that looks a little fishy. So I don't think there's an actual number here for everybody that we can quantify, or even a percentage. If there is, I'm unaware of it. We've never found it in our research, and whatever, maybe it's out there. But whenever you have a big spike in reviews for Google, it looks unnatural. You're going to maybe get audited. Maybe some of those reviews are going to get stuck in purgatory. Definitely since COVID, we've all seen things happen with reviews as far as how long they take to post, maybe some scrutiny not getting posted. There's a lot of services out there where you can buy reviews. There's fake reviews. So this whole process of Google monitoring reviews, monitoring the spikes in reviews, where they came from, are they applicable to your business, is not new or mysterious. It does happen. So I think there are some situations where this will happen naturally. Maybe you're attending a trade show, maybe you have a huge product launch, a huge sale, whatever it is, you're going to have spikes that go up and down on the volume of reviews. But when it's complete, feast or famine, I think things like that are going to be huge red flags for people, especially if they're the pattern of the reviews, not just in volume, but where you're getting them, who you're getting them from, is different as well. If usually you're getting them all local within whatever 10 miles, whatever your service area is, but now you're getting them all across the country or from other countries, things like that look towards manipulation, look like you're buying reviews or some things like that. So those are some scenarios, right, where you're going to get huge spikes in reviews or larger spikes in reviews outside of your normal. If you're getting reviews, kind of a constant drip and you're getting those spikes, I don't think there's anything to worry about. If you are wanting to know, should you be worried, right? Is there a problem? Are you doing things that are looking unnatural? Basically, if people are posting reviews and they're showing up on Google, everything's fine. If you're starting to get more and more reviews, but you're getting a lot of feedback that they're being held in purgatory, they're not showing, they're not posting, or you're seeing reviews show up and then come down 2 days later, those are some signs that I'd start to worry that either you have some kind of increased scrutiny or the sources for these reviews are being kind of sketchy, whatever it is. A good rule of thumb is if you're getting reviews and they're posting and everything's looking good, then you're fine. Any disruptions you're seeing, speaking of Google here, then that's definitely something you're going to want to maybe look at your practices. All that said and done, Bob, like we were just talking earlier, getting reviews on a regular, ongoing basis as a business, right? Running a good business, getting reviews, this will even out all of the spikes, right? All the peaks and the valleys, as long as you're doing that continually.
Yeah, and so I mean, if I can jump in on the cultural piece, of just maybe the psychology of the business owner, right? Sue, you meet with a lot of customers, a lot of clients we have, and you discuss this with them, right? Which ones tend to execute, the culture of review, if you will, and I mean, and which ones don't? I mean, is there any kind of, are you seeing any correlation with any of that? Like, which ones become, yeah, I get it, type of deal?
Well, it's a great question. And my first thought is rarely do they do anything the first time we have the discussion.
Okay. So they're human, right?
Right. That's right. And I think that they will try something. I mean, they try something and it isn't consistent. And we have many conversations about this across the board.
Right.
All right, everyone, we are back with the final episode, number 5. This is going to be episode 205. And on this one, I was joined by TJ of our team here at Intrix, and we're talking about pruning the content of your website, making sure that your content is relevant to your niche or what you want your the intention, if you will, of your website to be. What do you want to be known for? So taking a look at your content, taking a look at Google Search Console, what is Google liking? What are they recognizing for your content? What makes sense? And sometimes you can get a good SEO benefit and a little lift in your rankings by pruning your content or maybe even re-energizing some older content. A few different tips we go through here in this episode. If you're needing a refresh on your pour, go ahead and do that. Otherwise, let's dive into it right here. Cheers to episode 205. So for us, I think we're going to start talking about Search Console. But do you want to start with telling everybody, like, first, how do you look and see what may need to be pruned or how to identify those pages?
Yeah, for sure. So I think the first thing that I would suggest is to just go and look at your website and pretend that you're the user and you've arrived on your website and you're just clicking around and trying to understand what the purpose of the website is and how that the website can help you and what you're trying to find. Putting yourself in the user's shoes is a great exercise, and you might be surprised to find that things are not kind of matching up with what your expectations would be. Maybe there's a link to a page that doesn't really make sense, and it's one of the main links on the page. If you've got a blog and you've got a lot of blog posts, look through your blog topics and try to find topics that don't really fit with what the rest of the website's about. So that would be my first recommendation before looking into Search Console or any other technical tools for these answers. Just put yourself in the user's shoes and look at your website that way first.
So that's a tangible way, a visual way, right? Just check out your own website, kind of see what doesn't fit or maybe what's out of date. Great advice. I know, like for our show, Local SEO Tactics, north of 200 episodes, which is then 200 blog posts, there's for sure going to be some of our earlier episodes, right? That are either outdated, maybe not relevant anymore. So for me, that the dots are kind of connected and just being able to navigate your site. What about some more advanced? We just mentioned like Search Console. What are some more advanced ways to peek under the hood outside of just, clicking through your blog posts or your sitemap, things like that?
Yeah, for sure. So Search Console, what I would recommend people look at is the page indexation report. Often that's going to have some hints of the pages that Google has already decided that they don't think has a lot of value to them. And I can actually share my screen and show just so people know where to find that report.
Cool. While you're pulling that up, I'll mention everybody listening. If you're checking us out on the podcast, this is always on YouTube as well. Go to localseotactics.com. You can click on, click on the link for YouTube or just search YouTube for Local SEO Tactics. We should show up and you can watch all this in the video version. And so what TJ is going to show, you'll be able to follow along on screen with the examples.
Okay. So like I said, where I want to look for content that might not be effective on a website is in the page indexing report in Google Search Console. So a lot of people who are familiar with Google Search Console, they're probably looking in the performance section and seeing how many clicks their pages got. That can be another good spot to look, but I want to point out the indexing report because I think less people will be aware of what this report is going to give us. And what we have at the bottom of this, and I guess I should back up. When you get to Google Search Console, there's a sidebar on the left, and then there's a section for indexing, and then underneath that is pages. So that's where you want to click to get to this report.
If everybody watching and listening, we're actually looking at our, what is this, Local SEO Tactics that we're going to be showing here.com for an actual real live example. So we're going to peek under the hood at some of our own stuff. Like we were just referring to 200 and some episodes, right? We got a lot of content. So interesting to see what we find here as we're digging through it too.
So the page indexing report is going to say which pages are indexed. We've got 230. Which pages are not indexed? We've about 198. And you can see it says 8 reasons. So if you scroll down, you see these are the reasons why Google has chosen not to index pages on the site. So the most obvious one, excluded by no index tag, that's something we've decided to put on those pages to say, hey, we don't want this page showing up in search results.
Which can be normal, right? I mean, you have content on your website you might want to block from that or things like that, right? So shouldn't be scared if there's pages that are not indexed. You're going to point out maybe some spots to look for sure, but having some pages in here for the right reasons is totally acceptable.
For sure. One thing that I like to point out is alternate page with proper canonical tag. So this is going to be pages that have a canonical tag that is pointing towards a different page. So that's a way to specify to Google that, hey, we know these two pages are the same. We're going to put a duplicate, we're going to put a canonical tag pointing to the main version of this page. And then Google is going to know, okay, I don't need to worry about this other page. You might need it for some reason, but Google does not need to index both pages. There's an error or a reason that will show up on this list that is not on our list here, but it's basically going to say something along the lines of different page with proper canonical tag, and Google chose it. So just to recap, alternate page with proper canonical tag means that we have our canonical tags set up. We know that there's two similar pages, and we've got the canonical tag specifying which page is the main version of the page that Google should be indexing. If we did not have that set up correctly, we would see a reason in here called duplicate without user selected canonical.
Okay.
So that means that Google is finding multiple versions of the same content, and we have not specified which is the main version. And oftentimes that means Google is going to not index one. They're just going to choose whichever they think is the best. We always want to be in control of the content that we want Google to index. In that report, if you see it on your search console, that's definitely a place to audit and look and see if there's duplicate content on your website, and a good indication that it can be pruned or consolidated into, a single page.
Right on.
A couple other areas of this report that I look at are crawled, currently not indexed, and discovered, currently not indexed. So if you click on any of these, you'll get the list of actual URLs that Google's flagging here, and then you can see which pages they're talking about. But again, these are all pages that are not indexed. Crawled means that Google is crawled, it's found your page on your website, and it just didn't index it. So sometimes these are newer pages, it hasn't indexed it yet, it might still. But a lot of times it's not specifically saying it, but it's an indication that these pages, they don't see any reason to put those pages into Google search. So those can be areas where you need to either decide, do I need these pages on my website? Can this content be consolidated elsewhere? Or are they just pages I can get rid of?
So TJ, that kind of brings up a fork in the road. You're talking about here how to identify content that would be potentially pruned, right? Or kind of where to look to start, giving this an assessment. And maybe you're going to uncover a few things more, but I wanted to share a quick thought. There's two options, right? You can prune the content, just delete it, get rid of it, which we'll elaborate on. But then there's also what you're just mentioning, like combining pages, right? Or consolidating pages. Whether you knew you had these duplicate-ish pages or for whatever the reason, if you're going to consider pruning, one option is to combine them, consolidate them, reinvigorate those pages. If Google's not indexing a page, but you think it's authoritative and needs to be out there, you don't want to just delete that. You want to give it some attention. We're not going to talk about that today in this episode, but we do want to on a future episode. So diving deeper into pages, that need to be powered up, combined, right? So pruning content, but not just deleting it, how to combine it. We'd like to dive into that. And TJ and I were talking right before we started recording this episode. What would be a great way to go through that is to get you, the audience, involved. Kind of like we did on the Kyle Roof, where submit your website. If you want us to go through this, take a look at your data, take a look at your pages, make some recommendations on what needs to be pruned, and then what needs to be pruned by combining and powering up some of your pages and your content. We'd love to go through this with an example from a real life website from one of you out there. So if you're interested in participating, if you want us to go through your website, if you have a larger website, maybe an older website with a lot of content, if you'd like TJ and myself to walk through it and talk about how to prune the content and help you with this, let us know. Go out to localseotactics.com, go to this episode page for pruning content, and on that page we'll have a link to be able to submit your site. And in a future episode, we'll break that down and go through it, and we'll talk with you about it ahead of time. So if you're interested, please check that out, localseotactics.com. Go to this episode, submit your site, and we'll talk about how to prune and improve your content down the road. So that aside, TJ, do you want to walk us through? So I guess first we should pause. Is there any other tools that you would use to evaluate the content on your website to decide what is to be pruned, or at least on the chopping board? And if not, maybe transition into why you want to do this or how you're going to do this the next stages. So
Yeah, for sure. So without getting too technical, website crawling tools is another area where you can look to find content that might be ripe for the picking. And I don't know if that actually made any sense to say ripe for the picking, but ripe for the trimming.
All right, everyone. That's a wrap for this episode and for 2023. Can't express enough how much I appreciate, and we all here at Intrix and Local SEO Tactics appreciate you tuning in for another year. We're looking forward to another great year in 2024. Let's help each other out. If you have any questions, topics, or like I said earlier, maybe a recommendation for an interview, whatever it is, we would love to know. Reach out to us, localseotactics.com. Scroll down to the bottom for feedback for submitting questions. We'd love to hear from you. And Happy New Year, everybody. Take care. Cheers.